Hello. The Divine Code reading for October 11th, pages 251 and 252. We are in the chapter, The Prohibition of Swearing or Vowing in the Name of an Idol. And we're in the middle of topic number 2, which is discussing swearing in the name of an idol. It is also forbidden to swear in the name of an entity which others serve as an idol, such as the sun, even if he does not himself intend to serve it at all. He only intends to swear by its constant existence. Nevertheless, since others consider it to be a deity, it is forbidden to swear in its name. See the wording of Rambam, Sefer HaMitzvot, Negative Commandment 14. As it appears to others, as if he swears by their belief. Nowadays, when no one believes in the sun or stars as deities, one may certainly swear in their names. These are only mentioned here as past examples of popular idols. So, if the culture has a belief in something being an idol, there's an awareness of it, that something can be served as an idol. Then affirming that object by swearing by it can promote that object being seen as an idol. If we're in a culture where the object there's not an awareness that object would be an idol, then it might be okay to swear by the constant existence of it, such as a mountain. If we're in a locale where there's a mountain and people really feel strongly about the constant existence of the mountain, they wind up swearing by it. Now that might be something we may not want to do, but it's not forbidden to swear by the mountain or to swear by the sun coming up the next day. As the sun comes up the next day, I swear such and such. Technically, it can be done. It may or may not be the right thing to do, but it's halachically permitted. If there's an awareness in that culture, some people worship that object as an idol, then it would be prohibited to swear by that object because it would be seen as promoting that form of idolatry. Halakha number 3. Topic number 3. It is forbidden to mention the names of idols in any way of praise. The reason for this prohibition: you shall not mention the name of other gods, is to avoid praising them. But ordinary mention is not forbidden by Torah law, as we see in the opinion of Rambam, the laws of the worship of stars and idols, 5:10, that a Jew does not receive lashes for mentioning the name of an idol unless he swears by it. Therefore, there is no prohibition for Gentiles to make ordinary mention of an idol's name. So we're learning the details of the Gentile, the Noahide prohibition against idolatry by looking at the Jewish prohibitions. And if something is prohibited to the Jew, then it can be prohibited. It's most likely prohibited to the Gentile, particularly in the area of idolatry. If something is not a court offense, such as the Jew receives lashes, then it would be prohibited. If the Jew receives lashes, then it would be prohibited for a Gentile as well. But if the Jew is not, in this case, is not receiving lashes, it's not a punishable offense, then it would be considered a not an offense for a Gentile. Although we can still learn offenses from these things. But as far as the halakha goes, it would not be prohibited. As it says in Exodus 23:13, you shall not mention the name of their gods, nor shall it be heard from your mouth. A person should not tell his friend, guard this item for me next to such and such an idol, or meet me on the festival day of such and such an idol. Tractate Sanhedrin 63b, Rambam, The Laws of the Worship of Stars and Idols, 5:10, Rashi in Exodus, most likely 23:13. So this is two examples of how we should not mention the idol in a favorable manner. One is to use it as a reference point. Now, there's some towns that are built around a temple of an idol, and they identify their town by the temple of the idol, or the street names are based on the temple of the idol. And there's cities that use their street names. How many streets away from the first street, second street is based upon the location of the temple of the idol, or they might name it after idols. So the question is, are we allowed to use these street names? Now they're reference points, but if it's a common usage for the street name, and even if the idol stopped being served, they would still have the street names. They wouldn't change. They would still have the street names. Therefore, it might be okay to use the street names. It depends. Also, it depends on how connected the street name is with the idol. Now, if we're saying next to the idol, then that would be a problem, because we're definitely identifying it with the idol. The other concern of the festival days, yeah, there are festival days, and if that's the only way to identify that day on the calendar is with that festival day, then that might be the only way to identify it. But if it's possible to identify it in some other way, now there's in our calendar today, the regular Western calendar today, we have most of our days are identified with idols. These are ancient idols, and nobody worships these, or there's no awareness within the culture, within society, of worshiping these idols. They're not identified with the idols anymore. It's been such a long time. It would be like a street name, 500 years ago, that street name was associated with an idol. Today, they just call it that name. Sunday, Monday, these are identified with ancient idols. And are we allowed to, today we would be allowed to use it because it's no longer associated with the idol. In the culture where these idols might be used, then we should try to find other ways to identify the days instead of using those names. Topic number 4. Even though there is no prohibition in mentioning the name of an idol casually, it is nevertheless unfitting that a person should make it his habit to mention such a name, since it brings one to be drawn after the idol or to respect it, which is forbidden, as mentioned above in topic 2:1. From the verse, do not turn to the idols. Therefore, it is permitted to mention their names if there is a personal need for it, and it is not in a respectable way, and surely if the mention is to dishonor them. Likewise, if one intends to mention the idol's name in order to learn or explain the customs of its worshippers, in order to avoid these things, or in order to avoid transgressing the prohibition of practicing any of their rituals, then it is permitted. That's Murray on Tractate Sanhedrin 63. So typically, it's best not to mention the name of the idols, and definitely not to do it in a habitual manner of referring to the idol, because every time a person says the idol, it's creating a synaptic pattern within the brain of saying the name, and the name slowly would gain acceptance within the person's psyche. So it's best not to say these names, particularly out of habit. And if it's done so in a disrespectful manner, then the synaptic patterns are not developed that way. The brain doesn't develop that way. So it might be okay. Even that should be done in a minimal manner. If it's done for educational purposes in order to avoid the idol, and it's necessary to identify the idol with its name, it may be better to use a pseudonym, but it would be permitted under those circumstances. Topic number 5. It is permitted to mention the name of any idol that is written in the 24 books of the Hebrew Scriptures, the 5 books of Moses, the prophets, and the holy writings. As seen in the prefix, as seen that the prefix Bel, an idol of Nebuchadnezzar, as the Babylonians, does not appear in the 5 books of Moses, but only in the prophets. It is, however, permitted to mention it. See Sefer HaKinot, Commandment 86. So that there are names that are used, and when these names are used, it's permitted to say it. Again, it shouldn't be said in a necessarily respectful manner, but because it's been mentioned in the Bible, and it's basically the Bible saying these things, for our sake, where these idols are no longer functional within society, it would be permitted to say it. We're saying it from the Bible. It's for educational purposes. It's for identification for the teachings of the Bible. Therefore, within that context, it would be okay. Some of these names would be such as Peor, Bel, Navu, God, Gad, and the like. This is because a person intends to put the idol should be eternally nullified, and it is similarly the ruling for any idol that one intends to degrade or nullify. Likutei Sikhos, volume 23, page 168. This is an aspect of the permission to denigrate an idol. Shulchan Aruch, Yeridea 147. However, it is forbidden to swear in the names of these idols, no matter what the intention is. Tosafot on Tractate Sanhedrin 63b. So, while there's a permission given to swear in the name of a mountain or the name of a celestial object such as the sun, as long as no one within the culture is worshiping these items or sees it as an idol worship, as a object for idol worship. There is a permission for that. In the case of the Bible, the idols mentioned in the Bible, even though we're allowed to say their names because they're in the Bible, we still would not swear with them. It's not the same as a natural object. These are clearly idols that should not be given respect. Topic number 6. As explained, topic 4 above. There is no prohibition against mentioning the name of an idol unless one intends to honor the idol or refer to it in a way of importance. It is permitted to mention people's names that are identical to names of idols, as long as one's intention is for the person's name alone. If a Gentile was named after an idol by his parents, there's no special procedure required if he wishes to change his name. A person is the ultimate decider of his own name, and he merely needs to let his decision be known publicly and follow the procedure required by the secular courts. So this would be a case where a parent was honoring the idol by naming the child after the idol. And in such a case, it would be whatever the secular way is to change the name, that's what the person would follow. In some cultures, it's simply identifying himself by his own name. That's how it was, not that long, a generation ago in America, where people would just take on another name. Or maybe, like 60, 70 years ago, people would do that. Today, because of technology and that, and people are more worried about fake names and that, so they require to go through the courts. So it depends on the locale as to how to change a person's name to kind of clean up his name in such a case. You see Shulchan Aruch, Yeridea, chapter 147. We are allowed to use the person's name if it's a deity. So if we say moon child, if in a case where the moon is seen as a idol, and the parent names his child moon child, then we would be allowed to use that name. Maybe a nickname would be better in such a case. Thank you.